First, let's extend our heartfelt appreciation to the IBCC for leading us in the singing of the national anthem. Next, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to Bishop Luklukan for leading us in such a wonderful and powerful, moving prayer and worship, or praise and worship. Pastor, your words and prayers have filled this hall with a deep sense of faith and hope. Thank you, Professor Thelma, for that beautiful prayer. And of course, Doc Sam, thank you for the beautiful news that you have just shared. We have now formally convened today's convention. At this point, we are ready to move forward with the next part of the program. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you a prominent figure in the field of private education. Despite her hectic schedule, she has consistently been a strong advocate for advancing private schools in our country. Her unwavering commitment and dedication to education have made her a respected and influential leader. She has been at the forefront of various initiatives to improve the quality of education in private schools. She is an active member of the 𝗙𝗃𝗃, where she seeks to elevate and empower the private schools. Her expertise and insights have been invaluable in shaping policies and programs that benefit learners and educators. Fellow educators, please join me in welcoming the Executive Director of the Private Education Assistance Committee, Dr. Rhodora Ferrer.
Magandang umaga sa inyo lahat. Good morning to everyone. I think it's my first time to attend an assembly of CEdNet, and I'm very, very privileged to be with all of you this morning. I'd like to say that, Doc Sam is a good friend of mine. I think for the last 20 years, from UP 2004 to date, we've been very close friends. And Bishop, hindi ko kami nag-aaway. Oo, di ba? 20 years na. Yung iba dun sa malaking grupo, may nag-away na. Pero kami, hindi kami nag-aaway. Because I think we really think of each other as not really just friends, but family. And I think that's how you feel, right? Towards each other, towards your community, and towards your learners. I was a teacher at St. Scholastica's Manila. It's a Catholic school for 18 years. And whenever there are discussions about teachers being substitute parents, special parents, I always would ask, why not just parents? Don't we feel the success of our children as our own, the success of our students as our own, their failures as our own? I think that's a mantra that I've always adopted, and I think I've brought to where I am right now. So, my presentation will be several parts. As Dr. Marlu said, I sit in 𝗙𝗃𝗃𝗃. I'm with the PEAC. So I'll start with that discussion first before I go into something more personal. I'm not sure if every one of you is familiar with the Private Education Assistance Committee. We are jointly managing with the Department of Education the voucher program and the Education Service Contracting Program. I can see you are nodding your heads. And it's possible that you already were paid your vouchers as of last year. As of last year. Okay, so what is it in the PEAC that has really made us move towards ensuring that we serve the private education sector? Of course, if you will look at the language of PEAC, we always say it's in support of national development. It's in support of the learners and Philippine society. But if you will go one step further, you know that what you are really doing, if you are a person of faith, is that you are doing it for God. And I think you've heard me say this many, many times, if you've listened to my presentations, that whenever there are talks about our learners on the average having learning gaps of 5.5 years, it should make all our hearts bleed because those are our children. If you will look at the mission statement of the PAC, we talked about quality, sustainability, and innovation. Innovation is something that is needed, as what the opening remarks of Sam has said, no, that we have to adapt to the changing environment. But if you talk about the sustainability, and that is our sustainability as a sector, and you talk of quality, it's because we want to continuously serve our students to make sure that we really prepare them well to be productive members of society. That's of course a cliche, but definitely to develop to their fullest potential. Now recently I had the privilege to visit the Vatican. I joined PAC when it was Brother Armin Luistro, who was the Deputy Secretary, and he was chair, well, the Deputy Secretary is chair of the PAC. So I was invited to join the PAC. I came from the Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines. And when I visited 𝗪𝗏𝗂, the caves of 𝗪𝗏𝗂, because I'm a Benedictine, I wanted to see where Saint Benedict was at that time, that he was a hermit. And it leaves you a lot in a lot of awe that tao pala sila. Alam mo yun? You go to St. Peter's Basilica and St. Paul, tao pala sila. Because you cannot make kind of imagine that leap of faith that they actually live in this world, and just like all of us. In fact, I always say I am so awed by the work that was done by the first Christians, how difficult it was to have said that, oh, you believe me, believe all of us, no, Jesus is the Messiah. How difficult could that have been at that time? Something that is very easy for us now to just say and believe. So I went to 𝗪𝗏𝗂, and there was this tour guide who was speaking in straight Italian. But she was so, she was so very, she was so animated with all the gestures. And here I was not understanding anything for 2 hours. So I felt, this is how public students possibly feel. Those who cannot understand English stay in the classroom for hours and realize that they are losers. How could we condemn our children to thinking at a very young age that they are losers? But that's what we do. If we do not give them the foundational skills that will move them to what we claim are 21st century skills that are needed to navigate the world. Private schools, you know this. Now, I always tease you about your vision and mission statements. When you put the word globally competitive, I smile a little. Because we can see where we are in PISA, in Southeast Asian primary learning metrics. And how can we be globally competitive? Well, yes, we can, we can try and try and try. Being at the bottom does not mean we're not competitive, but, that's where we are. So it's really very heartbreaking. So fast forward to EDCOM 2. What is EDCOM 2 doing? EDCOM 2 was constituted not because of PISA, but because of the very, very obvious decline in the Philippine education system. In fact, the EDCOM 2 report is available, it's downloadable, and it has one statement there that's so powerful. Please do not call the education system a system. It is not. Because a system is a set of parts that are interacting in order to produce a whole that is a lot more substantial, more comprehensive than the parts working on their own, right? So it's synergistic in some sense, right? So we're not a system. So okay, so it's an education non-system. But having said that, what did the EDCOM 2 report reveal? Our children have very high attrition from grade 3 to 4, right? So they don't even reach junior high, our ESC, and senior high, our, voucher program. They're not even there. That's why we have strongly advocated for ESC at K to 6. so that we can arrest at the foundational level, okay, those skills of the students that are needed to move them to the higher levels with a lot more confidence. We will never reach that point of critical, creative thinking, global skills, or even peace education, okay? And we can never be matatag, okay, if we're not very good at the foundational level. Okay? What else have we advocated for? We also have said that you have to keep on supporting private schools. Not because it's an indictment of DepEd, but if you think of 1 million teachers and employees in the bureaucracy and serving more than 20 million students, some of this should be transferred to the private schools, which are really your examples of school-based management. So those are all the discussions we make. And as what Marlo was saying, those are the advocacies I brought in there. But other than that, the discussions will really make you fall off your seat and will make you empathize with the problems of DepEd. I don't know how many of you watched the House hearing of the DepEd on its budget and all the problems that were revealed in that House hearing. The lack of laptops and whatever laptops were bought were undelivered. And I always say this, try that in your school. Miss Principal, buy laptops and keep them in your office. Is that acceptable practice? So a lot of the things that were shown there are because of the bureaucracy and because of the procurement processes. And so what is our current DepEd Secretary saying? Several things. Aside from he himself being part of at that time, the Senate, reviewing the procurement law. He also is talking about early procurement practices because definitely these are unacceptable. But in the first meeting that we've had with him, we said several things. From PEAC end, we said number one, if you want to show goodwill to the private schools, increase the teacher salary subsidy. I mean, this has been languishing in DepEd for 8 years. Nahihiya na nga akong humarap sa mga private school teachers dahil ang tagal ko na itong sinasabi. Parang mawawalan na ako ng mga 25% credibility. No? Kasi hindi talaga siya umaakyat. From 18,000, we wanted it to go up to 24,000. And that was 8 years ago because that was the salary public side about 8 years ago. But that's not even the case now. Okay? If you will look at the migration from private to public, that will not make us sustainable. But we don't want to compromise public as well. We also want them to deliver well because 20 million students, how can you not want them to succeed? But if you will look at how the workload of public school teachers is, you will also understand why they're so tired compared to the private school teachers. I'm not saying that you're not tired, but you don't look tired actually. You were singing so well this morning. Thank you to Bishop. Where is Bishop? That was such the one who led the praise earlier. That was very, very inspiring, his story. So I said TSS. And the second thing that I said is, can we study the 𝗥𝗵𝗱𝗄 programs all over again? And then rationalize this. Meaning, why not a single voucher, K to 12? Voucher. Not ESC in 7 to 10 and vouchers in 11 to 12. Vouchers, K to 12. Prioritize, target, socialize, but make sure there are vouchers. So that's the second. And the third, not sure if you will still be happy about this, I said quality assured providers. And I think you will agree to that. I heard you many times talk about quality education, and that has been our advocacy. We just recommended the termination of another 13 schools. We already were able to terminate about 50 schools in the voucher program, right? And that is because you all know there is no certification by the PEAC of voucher participating schools. That's where all the abuses are. And where are the abuses, Dr. Sam? They are in schools which are offering online distance learning. So be careful, those who are using ODL from among the schools here, please be sure that you follow standards so that your students, bottom line, are still learning. Case in point, we had a school, 8,000 senior high schools, less than 50 teachers. Online naman po, online. So I said, Ma'am, isa lang pong tanong ko sa inyo, natututo po ba ang mga bata? Sabi niya, Ma'am, pwede pong mag-online, eto po DO, eto DO. Huwag niyo po akong basahan ng DO. Alam ko ho may DO na pwede siyang modality. Ang tanong ko po, natututo yung bata. Ang pangalawa ko pong tanong, saan po ba kayo nag-graduate? Hindi ko tinanong yan. Hindi ko kinaya. Right? Kasi parang makonsyensya naman kayo, di ba? Saan kayo gumraduate? Okay. You know, I visited the school before. I will tell you just one last story. I think I have, well, actually I limited my own time now because I have another engagement. There was a time in Mindanao, do we have Mindanao schools here? That there were Sunday schools. Are you familiar with the Sunday schools? So, I actually thought these were, mission schools. Because they only had schools on Sunday. So I thought it was an extension of, say, Sunday worship, and then there's a Sunday school. Yun pala, it was like 6 days of modules, and then 1 day where they are in school, and it's a Sunday. That's why they're called Sunday schools. So they're not CEdNet members, right? But they're Sunday schools. So Brother Armin said, go to Mindanao, go to all schools which are registered as Sunday schools, check those schools, and then give me a solution, which we eventually did. No? We converted them to modified work and study program providers, right? Which means you cannot do Sunday. So I went on a Sunday. Where are our friends from DepEd? Are they here? So I went on a Sunday and I said, do you have a permit po to operate as a Sunday school? Yes, I have one from DepEd. So does DepEd visit you? Ay, Sunday ngayon, hindi. Oo nga po, no? Pero kami po nandito kahit Sunday. Okay. So I asked, how are your students? Yun po, once a week because they're working for 6 days. So it had started with very good intentions, which sometimes, Bishop, talagang sabi ko nga pagdating ng araw, kahit kami babagsak na sa ISO, yung PEAC, kasi values na ng tao, hindi na namin mabila, hindi na namin kayang itignan eh. Kasi bakit ang dami pa ring findings? Bakit ang dami pa ring nagsushortcut nito? When in fact, we already are trying our best to make sure that everything is above board and the private schools are benefited. Why are still some private schools gaming the system? Okay? So I said, so what are the students' work for 6 days? So I interviewed the students. Ako po nagbabantay ng kapatid. Ano yun? Binabantayan ko yung kapatid ko. Yun na pala yung work niya. So sabi ko, hindi pwede yan. Shortcut natin ang junior high school program. Correct? And then you get the full amount of the ESC. Wow. I asked the teachers, magkano ang sweldo nyo? 500 pesos per day. Arawan po kami rito. Because it's a Sunday. So, it's such a very, very profitable business model. Correct? And so I said to the principal, who was probably as old as my grandmother that time. Seriously, that's why I was so careful with, all my criticisms because she was so old. I said, Ma'am, ganito na lang po, para ho patas tayo. In many schools, 5 days of in-person is equal to 9, 11, 13,000, correct? For the ESC. Your school offers only 1 day, correct? Opo. So we will give you 1/5 of the amount. What do you think? That's fair, I said. She cannot believe what I'm saying. Because had we gone that route, I am sure that school will close. Because they would have realized that the profitable business model is not profitable anymore. So it's very, very sad that we still have schools like this. That's why we really are pushing for quality assurance. So that's our side, what we told the secretary. But what did the secretary say? On his first year, he will make sure that procurement will be really faster and that there will be textbooks in the classrooms. There will be teachers in the classrooms. And the third one that he will take care of the teachers, welfare, salaries, etc. And you must have seen the news on all of this. But there's one thing that I like, really, really like in what he said, and that is, let's bring the joy back in the classroom. And let's make the students safe inside the schools. Do you know that the PISA results also revealed that we are the bullying capital of the world? I mean, how can... Unbelievable. We are at the bottom of rankings, and yet we're the bullying capital. What's wrong with the Filipinos? Is that a sad question? Should I not be asking that? But where are we? So I always say, paano matututo ang bata na takot sa sarili niyang eskwelahan kasi hindi siya siguradong safe siya? Tama? Galing pa siya isang pamamahay na baka hindi rin siya ganon ka-safe. Pagdating niya, gutom pa siya. Tapos i-Englishin siya nung teacher. Although hindi naman, meron namang mother tongue. Alam ko rin yan. Kahit nung nagturo ako ng physics, tinatagalog ko. Kapag nakikita ko yung mga mukha ng mga bata, hindi kami nagkakaintindihan. Actually, yung teacher pa nga ang pinakamalaking suporta ng mga bata inside the schools. And the teachers, that's why they're so tired. Because they're trying to be everything to everyone. Kaya hirap na hirap. Ang hirap maging teacher, ha? Tama ba ako? Oo. So kung hindi nyo kaya, huwag kayong maging teacher. Hindi nga, totoo. Diba? Kung kayo naghihintay lang ng oras ng uwi, tigilan nyo na yan. Okay? Huwag na kayong magturo. Kung hindi personal sa inyo, na yung mga estudyante nyo, mag-succeed, huwag na kayong magturo. Diba? Because that is not what this mission is all about. Okay? So I'd like to end with this. Hindi ko alam na matatawa kayo sa mga sinasabi ko, pero natatawa kayo. Okay? I gave part of this message when I spoke last week in my alma mater, St. Scholastica, San Fernando, Pampanga. Okay, I'm a Kapampangan. Okay, my parents, Ray Fernandez and 𝗙𝗲𝗿𝗍, were like many parents in that they believed that the most important gift that they could give their children was the best education possible. But there were 6 of us, so it was not easy juggling work, parenting, and making sure there was food on the table. I vividly remember my experience as a preschooler at St. Scholastica's. I sometimes would have lunch with the Benedictine sisters after my morning class because my parents could not pick me up. Then the sisters would bring me back to the classroom to join the afternoon session. By that time, 𝗓𝗏𝗿𝗍 and without any baon. So medyo nakadaya ako ng konti. 2 beses akong nag-prep, 2 beses ako nag-grade 1. In grade 3, the directress, Sister Concepcion, decided that I needed to be accelerated to grade 4 after 2 grading periods. Unbelievable. At the end of the 2nd grading period, I had to copy all the grade 4 notes, and then by the 3rd grading period, I was in grade 4. Some teachers were not happy about this and made it difficult for me. At that time, may namamalo pa na teacher. You know that. Okay? I did not tell my parents. Rather, I basked in their full support. To me, home and school partnership was not just a concept, but a lived experience. I think this is something that should be very strong in your schools. No? Get those parents in, because it's very important that they really are with their children That gives the student a lot of confidence, and that gives the student a safe haven at home, very sure of their parents' support. My experience in my basic ed, my Christian Benedictine education, is a story on its own. But there is no doubt that it contributed significantly to who I am and all that I stand for today. I next devoted 18 years of my life as a teacher, a physics teacher actually, at St. Scholastica's Manila, where I embraced education for justice and academic excellence as a social responsibility. Until now, that is what I believe in. It's not just about yourself, it's social responsibility. Sister Mary John was my president at St. Scholastica's Manila, and I remember a phone call from an irate parent when I was Dean of Student Affairs saying, her daughter became an activist because of St. Scho. And I said, of course, that is exactly what we wanted to accomplish. Today's talk, I hope, ignited in all of you, but that is for them. For you here, we all know there is much to be done in our country. A lot of ills and woes waiting for solutions from us who are in a position to do what is good, what is right, what our faith tells us. To remember the poor and work for social justice. We cannot accept, and we should not, that we are the bullying capital of the world, that we are the child pornography hub of the world, but score the lowest in PISA and Southeast Asian PLM. To end, I'd like to share a Ryan Holiday quote that I have only recently seen, but which has been in my head and my heart ever since. We should do the right thing, not just because it is right, but because if we don't, it will be impossible for us to respect ourselves. The hardest person to be is the coward or the cheat. For though they get out of doing difficult things, they feel the most shame in the quiet moments when they are alone. We in this hall are no cowards nor cheats. Therefore, we continue doing the difficult things and feel no shame, for we are proceeding from the greatest of all values: love for our children, love for our neighbors, love for our country, and needless to say, love of God, that in all things God may be glorified. Good morning to everyone.
I believe all of us are awed with what Dr. Ferrer has said. How about giving her a round of applause? This time, todo natin. Thank you very much, Dr. Ferrer. Let's do it this way. A while ago, Dr. Sam has mentioned that in our midst, we will be awarding brilliant people, and they will accept the Plaque of Honor. And this time, the first awardee is none other than Dr. Rhodora Ferrer. Let's recognize her valuable contributions to the private schools and to the academy. With her is Dr. Samuel and Pastor Elvin. She is now being recognized as the first awardee to receive the Plaque of Honor. Congratulations po. Iba talaga